Hey folks, it is day 4 and here we are really halfway through the class, so congratulations on that. It's a big day, so I appreciate you sticking with it, being there the whole time, and you're going to have a little breather for a couple of days. That's an opportunity, I think, for you to work ahead, I hope, rather than just sort of disappear, although if you need to disappear, I understand. Sometimes you need a mental break. There are a couple things that you're doing today. Really, there are 3 things that you're doing today. One is you're looking at the difference between an empirically testable theory and a philosophy. I'm gonna just tell you, you're gonna read and watch some stuff on this later, but let's think of it this way. A theory is an explanation for some sort of educational phenomenon that you can then use data to test. You can test that theory and see if it is actually true or supported by the data or not supported by the data. That's going to be important. We are going to learn more about why theory is important to empirical research in education. I will give you a hint. Theory is important because it helps us understand what's actually happening. Without having some sort of awareness of either a theoretical framework or conceptual understanding of what's going on, how do you know what the data is saying? How do you understand that? So whether you know it or not, you probably have a theory. You just haven't articulated it yet. Or if you have articulated a theory, then you're going to want to think of alternative explanations or alternative theories that could challenge yours so that you're understanding the picture more fully. Finally, you're going to look at how to develop your own theoretical perspective and use it to frame your research. Like I said before, everyone has a leaning. But you want to think about the kinds of questions that you are asking. What are you asking about theory? Or what are you asking about the topic in particular? So, for example, I am interested, as I've said a couple of times recently, in immigrant refugee education. But I'm specifically interested in the ways that the immigrant refugee youth or students are brought into an education system. And I have a set of expectations already about what that looks like based on the different education systems that are bringing immigrant refugees in. If I'm talking about my own community here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, we have to think about how the context influences that educational process, how the expectations about from the teacher's perspective as well as from the students and refugee family perspectives create a specific kind of interaction between the teacher and the student. All of those things are going to be a part of how I think about the topic empirically, like the kind of data I would get, but they also influence my theoretical or my conceptual understanding of how that process works, right? So you're going to be thinking about that as well. So you're moving through, similar to how we've moved before. You're going to watch a video on the role of theory in research from Southampton Education School in the UK. Get ready for some accents. Unless you're from the UK, and then it will sound like home. You're going to look at how to develop your own conceptual framework. You're going to do part of that by looking at this Develop a Research Proposal link, and also by these videos on how to choose a theoretical framework that were done by a doctoral student thinking about their dissertation. Now, I know you guys may or may not be doc students, but thinking about how to choose a theoretical framework, I think, will be very helpful. And then I have a series of videos that I did for a different class at a different time that are applicable right now. It was a research class. It was just dealing more specifically with comparative education that I would like for you to work through. And I was asking you to work through these earlier in the course, so hopefully you've watched some of these already. They will give you some overview of some of the concepts that you've gone through in previous days, but it will also, I hope, try to bring it together. And this you can see on this screen where I'm asking you to sort of draft out, here's what the problem is, here's what the question is. That's a good way to either push yourself forward or summarize what you've done. So you might think about trying to do that activity yourself when you're watching that video. And then what you're going to do is the application activity for today is to write a substantive theoretical framework section for your research proposal. You're going to include and explain a visual model of the relationship among variables that is in line with your theoretical perspective, Hopefully you'll be using that concept map or that bubble thing that you did for day one when you are working on your theoretical framework. And if you have any questions, email me or Katrina or ask in the forum.